All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Anuja Kumar and with me is Saira Mujtaba. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says new education policy is key to fulfill nation's aspirations. RBI paves way for loan recast. 26 sectors identified for the purpose. ED arrests former ICICI Bank Chief Executive Officer Chanda Kocher's husband Deepak Kocher in money laundering case. International Literacy Day being celebrated across the globe today. And in tennis, Indo-Canadian pair of Rohan Bopanna and Denis Shapovalov crashes out of the US Open. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has hailed the new education policy and said that it will change the one-size-fits-all theory of earlier education policies. Mr. Modi said the new education policy will prepare the Indian youth for new challenges in the ever-evolving sphere of employment and jobs. The Prime Minister was addressing the inaugural session of the Governors' Conference on National Education Policy through video conference.
ये पॉलिसी देश के युवाओं को भविष्य की आवश्यकताओं के मुताबिक नॉलेज और स्किल्स दोनों मोर्चों पर तैयार करेगी। नई शिक्षा नीति स्टडी के बजाय लर्निंग पर फोकस करती है और करिकुलम से और आगे बढ़कर क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग पर जोर देती है। इस पॉलिसी में प्रोसेस से ज्यादा पैशन, प्रैक्टिकलिटी और परफॉर्मेंस पर बल दिया गया है। एक तरह से देखें तो ये वन साइज फिट्स ऑल की अप्रोच से हमारी शिक्षा व्यवस्था को बाहर निकालने का एक मजबूत प्रयास है।
Mr. Modi said suggestions of more than 2 lakh people from across the country were amalgamated in the new education policy.
शिक्षा नीति का जो ड्राफ्ट तैयार हुआ था उसके अलग अलग पॉइंट्स पर भी 2 लाख से अधिक लोगों ने अपने सुझाव दिए थे। नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी सिर्फ पढ़ाई लिखाई के तौर तरीकों में ही बदलाव लाने के लिए नहीं है। ये पॉलिसी 21वीं सदी के भारत के सामाजिक और आर्थिक जीवन को नई दिशा देने वाली है। ये पॉलिसी आत्मनिर्भर भारत के संकल्प और सामर्थ्य को आकार देने वाली है।
He asserted that education policy is the key to fulfill the nation's aspirations and called for minimal government intervention and influence in its implementation.
देश की एस्पिरेशंस को पूरा करने का बहुत महत्वपूर्ण माध्यम शिक्षा नीति और शिक्षा व्यवस्था होती है। शिक्षा व्यवस्था की जिम्मेदारी से केंद्र सरकार, राज्य सरकार, स्थानीय निकाय सभी जुड़े होते हैं। लेकिन ये भी सही है कि शिक्षा नीति में सरकार, उसका दखल, उसका प्रभाव कम से कम होना चाहिए। शिक्षा नीति से जितना शिक्षक जुड़े होंगे, अभिभावक जुड़े होंगे, छात्र छात्राएं जुड़े होंगे, उतना ही उसकी प्रासंगिकता और व्यापकता दोनों ही बढ़ती है।
The Prime Minister said the policy paves the way for opening campuses of best international institutions in India so that youth from common families can also join them. The Prime Minister said India has been an ancient center of learning and the new policy will help in making it a hub of knowledge economy in the 21st century. President Ram Nath Kovind, while addressing the conference, said the new education policy gives top priority to provide basic literacy and numeracy to all children at primary school level by the year 2025.
इस शिक्षा नीति में यह स्पष्ट किया गया है कि सार्वजनिक शिक्षा प्रणाली ही जीवंत लोकतांत्रिक समाज का आधार होती है। अतः सार्वजनिक शिक्षण संस्थानों को मजबूत बनाना अत्यंत आवश्यक है। वर्ष 2025 तक प्राथमिक विद्यालय स्तर पर सभी बच्चों को मूलभूत साक्षरता और संख्या ज्ञान प्राप्त कराना इस शिक्षा प्रणाली की सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता तय की गई है।
Mr. Kovind said the policy has been formulated after an unprecedented and lengthy process of consultations, including over 2 lakh suggestions received from about 675 districts. The President said that integration of technology in education system will further boost the corrective measures and informed that a National Educational Technology Forum will soon be established in the country to suggest such measures to all stakeholders. The President asked the governors to organize theme-based virtual sessions in their states to implement the new National Education Policy. He said the feedback from these sessions can be sent to the Education Ministry for further considerations and utilization at the national level. The conference titled Role of NEP 2020 in Transforming Higher Education was organized by the Ministry of Education. NEP 2020 is the first education policy of the 21st century, which was announced after 34 years of the previous National Policy on Education, 1986. NEP 2020 is directed towards major reforms in both school and higher education level. The Governors' Conference was attended by education ministers of all the states, vice-chancellors of state universities and other senior officials. The Gujarat government has formed the task force to study and implement the National Education Policy 2020 for school education. State-level task force comprises 15 members from politicians, administrative officials and academicians. This task force is expected to study NEP 2020, make changes suggested in the school education format and come up with the best implementation measures. Higher Education Department is expected to declare its task force in a few days.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Patrika Gate in Jaipur through video conference today. The iconic gate is built by the Patrika group of newspapers on the Jawaharlal Nehru Marg in Jaipur. Prime Minister Modi will also release 2 books written by the group chairman on the occasion. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar chaired a webinar on the first ever International Day of Clean Air for Blue Skies. Speaking on the occasion, Mr. Javadekar said the government is committed to reducing the air pollution level in 122 most polluted cities. He said with rise in population, industries, vehicles, garbage and dust, pollution has increased. Mr. Javadekar said Prime Minister Modi, in his address from the Red Fort on this year's Independence Day, had highlighted the need of holistic improvement in air quality in 100 cities. He thanked Mr. Modi for bringing the issue in his Independence Day speech and putting across the goal of holistic improvement in air quality in 100 cities. Mr. Javadekar said Prime Minister himself is determined to bring this change. The minister said government has taken several initiatives during the last few years to reduce pollution in the country. Launch of National Clean Air Program NACP and National Air Quality Index NAQI, use of BS6 fuel, enhancing emission standards for industries, construction of roads for decongestion of traffic, special emphasis to e-vehicles are some of the initiatives.
समीर ऐप मैं आप सबको विनती करूंगा, ये ऐप डाउनलोड करो, सभी प्ले स्टोर पर मिलता है। आपको 122 शहरों की हवा आपके हाथ में, उसका मॉनिटरिंग आएगा कि कहाँ कितनी है, प्रदूषण कौन सा है। केंद्र ने एक नेशनल क्लीन एयर प्रोग्राम शुरू किया। नेशनल क्लीन एयर प्रोग्राम के तहत करोड़ों रुपए 122 शहरों को अपना सिटी स्पेसिफिक प्लान बनाने के लिए हमने भेजे हैं, क्योंकि हर शहर के कारण अलग है। तो जैसे जिस शहर की तबीयत है प्रदूषण की, वैसे इलाज करके हमें एक अच्छे शहर में परिवर्तन करना है, प्रदूषण में कमी लानी है।
Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh has said that role of Indian Merchants Chamber is crucial to post-COVID economy and for realizing the Atmanirbhar Bharat mission. Addressing the Foundation Day ceremony of IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry as chief guest, Dr. Singh said, self-reliant India is key to the concept of Atmanirbhar Bharat. He said reputed business organizations like the IMC are expected to take a call on this. He said it is both a challenge and opportunity for India in the post-COVID scenario when the whole world is trying to rise to the occasion. The minister further said that the esteem of using what is available locally and the urge to create or produce what is not available locally is the essence of vocal for local. The Reserve Bank has specified 5 financial ratios and sector-specific thresholds for resolution of COVID-19 related stressed assets in 26 sectors, including auto components, aviation and tourism. The circular issued by the Reserve Bank for resolution of the stressed assets is based on the recommendations of the KV Kamath Committee, which submitted its report on 4th of September. The 26 sectors specified by the RBI include automobiles, power, tourism, cement, chemicals, gems and jewellery, logistics, mining, manufacturing, real estate and shipping, among others. The RBI said the ratios prescribed are intended as floors or ceilings, as the case may be, but the resolution plans shall take into account the pre-COVID-19 operating and financial performance of the borrower and impact of COVID-19 on its operating and financial performance at the time of finalizing the resolution plan to assess the cash flows in subsequent years, while stipulating appropriate ratios in each case.
Enforcement Directorate ED has arrested Deepak Kochar, husband of former ICICI Bank Chief Executive Officer Chanda Kochar, in connection with a money laundering case. The couple has been questioned by the Central Probe Agency in a case of alleged irregularities and money laundering in giving bank loans to the Videocon group. The ED earlier this year also attached assets worth 78 crore rupees in possession of Chanda Kochar, Deepak Kochar and the companies owned and controlled by him. The recovery rate of COVID patients in Delhi stands at 87% today. The city recorded recovery of 2,411 patients in the last 24 hours, taking the total number of recovered patients to date to 1,68,384. With increased testing, the city has achieved the remarkable mark of conducting 94,919 corona tests per million of its population. A total of 2,077 new confirmed cases of coronavirus were reported in the national capital during the last 24 hours. With this, the total number of COVID cases in the city has reached 1,93,526.
In Gujarat, 1,330 new cases of COVID-19 recorded during the last 24 hours. AIR correspondent reports that the recovery rate further improves to 81.42%.
More than 28,53,000 tests have been carried out in the state till date, out of which 72,690 tests were carried out yesterday. Total cases of COVID-19 in the state have gone up to 1,05,671. At present, 16,514 active cases in the state, out of which 89 patients are on ventilator. At the other end, 1,276 patients have been discharged from various hospitals after recovery. Total patients recovered from COVID-19 have gone up to 86,034. 15 patients have lost their lives yesterday, taking the total deaths due to COVID-19 in the state up to 3,123. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
Popular tourist destinations in Tamil Nadu are being opened up to welcome the visitors. The restrictions in the famous hill resort town Ooty will be lifted from tomorrow. In Chennai, 20 personnel of the city police who recovered from COVID-19 disease returned to duty yesterday. They were received by the Police Commissioner, Mahesh Kumar Agarwal. So far, 2,308 personnel of the city police have been infected by the virus and 1,921 have resumed their duties. Meanwhile, the total number of COVID-19 infections in the state has crossed 4,69,000, while recoveries have gone up to 4,10,000. More from our correspondent.
Though the Unlock 4 came into force on the 1st September, the popular hill resort town follows travel restrictions as the e-pass system is still in force in Ooty to regulate crowds. The famous picnic spots like Government Botanical Garden and Rose Garden in Ooty and the Sims Park in Kunu remain closed for public view. Paying heed to the tourism industry demands, they are being opened up from Wednesday. However, tourists need to secure e-pass by applying in the state government portal. COVID-19 sample collection kiosks are being established in places where people gather in large numbers in the hill resort town. Jai Singh, AIR News, Chennai.
In Karnataka, the number of COVID-19 recovered patients crossed the 3 lakh mark yesterday when 8,015 recovered people were discharged from various hospitals in the state. The total number of recovered patients has gone up to 3,770. On the contrary, there was a drastic reduction in the per-day positive cases, with 5,773 new cases confirmed yesterday in the state. The total number of COVID patients have increased to 4,04,324. At the same time, 141 patients lost their lives as the total fatalities increased to 6,534. As on date, 97,001 patients are under treatment. Among them, 794 are in ICU. So far, 33,93,676 tests have been conducted in the state, including 45,421 tests carried out yesterday. The state recovery rate has further increased to 74.39% and the mortality rate dipped to 1.61%. More from our correspondent.
Karnataka Medical Education Minister Dr. K. Sudhakar has instructed the officials to conduct a clinical study about the coronavirus reinfection cases. The minister conducted a meeting with the task force officials in this regard in Bengaluru yesterday. Speaking about a 27-year-old woman who developed infection a second time at a hospital, the minister said that several other countries have reported cases of reinfection and each country has come up with a different reason for reinfection. Expressing concern about the reinfection in Bengaluru, the minister said that the incident should be dealt with carefully and efforts must be made to drive away the fear from the people. R. Murthy, AER News, Bengaluru.
In Odisha, all the MLAs and employees of the Vidhan Sabha will undergo COVID-19 test 2 days before the commencement of the next assembly session. This was decided in a meeting held under the chairmanship of Speaker Dr. Surya Narayan Patra in Bhubaneswar yesterday. As decided in the meeting, only those MLAs and employees who test negative in the RT-PCR test will be allowed to attend the fourth session of the 16th Odisha Assembly. A report.
Amid the galloping growth in COVID-19 infection and against the background of about 20 legislators of the state having been infected so far, the lawmakers in Odisha decides against leaving anything to chance next time they assemble in the House. The MLAs and employees of the Assembly will not only go through the RT-PCR test 2 days ahead of the next session, but also they would be urged to follow isolation protocols even at home for the entire duration of the session. There will also be provisions for rapid antigen tests during the session to isolate the ones showing any symptoms. Legislators above 60 years of age will participate in the deliberations through video conferencing only. Meanwhile, the number of infected people who have recovered so far in the state is about to breach the 1 lakh mark as against a total of about 1,28,000 infections till date. Girish Chandra Das, Bhubaneswar.
In Madhya Pradesh, the number of COVID-19 cases has gone up to 75,459 after 1,885 new cases were reported in the past 24 hours. With 17 patients succumbing to the infection, the death toll rose to 1,589. More from our correspondent.
As per the State Health Bulletin, 1,022 coronavirus patients were discharged from the hospitals yesterday, taking the number of recovered cases in the state to 56,909. There are now 16,961 active cases in Madhya Pradesh. Meanwhile, the state government has taken a decision to reduce the additional stamp duty from 3% to 1% on the sale and purchase of property in the urban areas of the state. This exemption will be applicable till December 31st this year. Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan said that economic activities have been adversely affected on a large scale due to COVID-19. He has expressed confidence that this decision will enable people to buy their own house easily. Business will accelerate and work in real estate will gain momentum. Sanjeev Sharma, AIR News, Bhopal.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says new education policy is key to fulfill nation's aspirations. RBI paves way for loan recast, 26 sectors identified for the purpose. ED arrests former ICICI Bank Chief Executive Officer Chanda Kochar's husband, Deepak Kochar, in money laundering case. International Literacy Day being celebrated across the globe today. And in tennis, Indo-Canadian pair of Rohan Bopanna and Denis Shapovalov crashes out of the US Open. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Telangana government has decided to scrap posts of village revenue officers as part of major reforms under proposal in the revenue department. The registrations of properties and other documents have been stopped across the state from today onwards till further orders. State Cabinet meeting held late in the evening yesterday in Hyderabad has sanctioned approval to many draft bills to bring in reforms in this regard. Later, the authorities in the Chief Minister's office have revealed that the Cabinet has approved over half a dozen proposed laws during its meeting, and all the bills will be introduced in the current monsoon session of the Assembly. The Assembly session began yesterday and will continue till the 28th of this month. More from our correspondent.
In a major reform aimed at streamlining the revenue system in the state, the Telangana state government has proposed scrapping the posts of village revenue officers. They are the officials who hold all major land records at the ground level. A draft bill in this regard has been approved by the state cabinet yesterday. State Chief Secretary Somesh Kumar also issued a government order stalling all types of registrations of the properties and other documents across the state from today onwards. The district collectors have also been asked to ensure surrender of all records presently with the VROs to their higher officials. Meanwhile, the state cabinet has given its nod to the proposed new revenue bill and about half a dozen revenue-related amendment bills which will pave way for bringing in reforms in the functioning of the revenue department. Lakshmi, AR News, Hyderabad.
On the second and last day of the monsoon session of Maharashtra legislature in Mumbai today, the election to the post of Deputy Chairperson of Legislative Council will take place. Shiv Sena leader Dr. Neelam Godhe has filed nomination from Maha Vikas Aghadi, while the Bharatiya Janata Party has fielded Vijay alias Bhai Girkar for the post. Details from our correspondent.
Chairman of Maharashtra Legislative Council Ramraje Naik Nimbalkar, while announcing the elections yesterday on the first day of the session, instructed Council leader Ajit Pawar that in view of Corona pandemic, efforts be made that elections to Deputy Chairman be held unopposed. Leader of Opposition Praveen Darekar and other BJP leaders have demanded that this election be postponed. Darekar also demanded that Corona warriors who succumbed to the infection in the line of duty be treated as martyrs and be given compensation. He also said at least one member of the family should be given government job. Sonali Ghadar Patil, AIR News, Mumbai.
Father of India's radio astronomy, Dr. Govind Swarup, passed away yesterday at Pune. He was 91. He was admitted to a local hospital due to ill health a few days ago. Dr. Swarup is known not only for his many important research contributions in several areas of astronomy and astrophysics, but also for his outstanding achievements in building ingenious, innovative and powerful observational facilities for frontline research in radio astronomy. Countries across the world celebrate International Literacy Day today. International Literacy Day 2020 will focus on literacy teaching and learning in the COVID-19 crisis and beyond, with a focus on the role of educators and changing pedagogies. The theme will highlight literacy learning in a lifelong learning perspective and mainly focus on youth and adults. This day was declared International Literacy Day by UNESCO on 26 October 1966 at the 14th session of UNESCO's General Conference. It was celebrated for the first time in 1967, and its main aim is to highlight the importance of literacy to individuals, communities and societies.
In Jammu and Kashmir, Directorate of School Education in Jammu organized an online cultural event under Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat initiative with its paired state Tamil Nadu, wherein students from Tamil Nadu and Jammu participated. During the event, students from both the states showcased their culture through attractive performances. Our correspondent has filed this report.
In the prevailing situation, an attempt has been made by the Directorate to engage students in some goal-oriented recreational activities and to carry forward the Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat program aimed lockdown. The main aim of organizing the event was to celebrate India's ethnic and linguistic diversity and to promote awareness about linguistic, cultural and spiritual diversity of the paired state. Dressed in traditional attire, students performed various colorful and wonderful activities like singing, dancing, discussion, etc., and exchanged their ideas and discussed about how to further strengthen the bond of unity with the pairing state UT. All the participants thanked Director of School Education for organizing such a great cultural event and requested to organize such events in future also. N. Gulshan Rana, AIR News, Jammu.
In our series on Gandhi and philosophy, today we bring you a report on Gandhi's thinking on communal harmony. Mahatma Gandhi firmly believed that all religions insist on equality of humans. He asserted that all religions help in developing a harmonious relationship with the entirety of creation. He said tolerance gives spiritual insight, which is as far from fanaticism as the North Pole from the South. More in this report.
The Mahatma believed that true knowledge of religion breaks down the barriers between different faiths. He said the golden rule of conduct is mutual toleration. He was of the view that even amongst the most conscientious persons, there will be room enough for honest differences of opinion. Gandhiji believed in communal unity and saw an inviolable harmony existing in all creation enshrined in all religions. Suparna Saikia, IIR News, Delhi.
In the US Open tennis, the Indo-Canadian pair of Rohan Bopanna and Denis Shapovalov went down fighting the men's doubles quarter-final to the Dutch-Romanian duo of Jean-Jules Rocher and Horia Tico in straight sets 7-5, 7-5. Rocher and Tico will now play Brazilian-Croatian pair of B. Soares and M. Pavic in the second semi-final tomorrow. The first semi-final will be played between the British-American duo of J. Salisbury and R. Ram and Croatian-Dutch pair of N. Mektic and W. Kulov.
Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital Delhi is expected to have generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. Minimum temperature recorded in the city was 25 degrees Celsius. Maximum temperature is expected to be around 36 degrees. Mumbai will have generally cloudy sky with possibility of development of thunder or lightning. The minimum temperature recorded was 25 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 32 degrees. Chennai will have generally cloudy sky with a few spells of rain or thunder showers. Minimum temperature recorded was 26 degrees Celsius and maximum is expected at around 35 degrees. Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky with possibility of moderate rain or thunderstorm. Minimum temperature in the metropolis was 28 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 36 degrees. In the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, minimum temperature in Jammu was 22 degrees Celsius in Jammu, while maximum will be around 34 degrees. In Jammu and Srinagar, there will be mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Minimum temperature in Srinagar was recorded 14 degrees Celsius, while maximum is expected to be around 30 degrees. Ladakh will also have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Minimum temperature was 16 degrees and maximum will go up to 27 degrees Celsius. Gilgit and Muzaffarabad are also going to have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards afternoon or evening. Minimum temperature in Gilgit was 14 degrees Celsius and maximum is expected to be around 28 degrees. In Muzaffarabad, minimum temperature was 23 degrees Celsius and maximum is expected to be around 37 degrees. In Chandigarh, the sky will be partly cloudy. Minimum temperature recorded was 26 degrees Celsius and maximum is expected to be around 34 degrees.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. The front page headline of all the dailies mention about India joining the elite hypersonic missile club of US, Russia and China. In the Sun Times writes, India's defense inches closer to hypersonic tech. Rush of vaccine Sputnik 5's trials in India to begin soon, reports the Asian Age. Quoting the Prime Minister, The Hindu writes, government intervention in education policy should be minimal. He added that people's doubts must be addressed before NEP implementation. On the India-China standoff in Ladakh, the Indian Express quotes the Foreign Minister, serious situation, need deep conversations at political level. The Punjab reports on the list of nations worst affected by coronavirus, writing, India's cases surpassed sum total of 13 top nations. All the dailies have also reported tennis star Novak Djokovic being kicked out of the US Open. The Statesman headline reads, Joker sent packing from US Open after hitting line judge with ball. And finally, in an epic story of triumph against all odds, a 21-year-old Mumbai boy, Yash Gandhi, makes it to IIM, defying cerebral palsy and slur in his speech, reports the Times of India.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says new education policy is key to fulfill nation's aspirations. RBI paves way for loan recast, 26 sectors identified for the purpose. ED arrests former ICICI Bank Chief Executive Officer Chanda Kochar's husband Deepak Kochar in money laundering case. International Literacy Day being celebrated across the globe today. And in tennis, Indo-Canadian pair of Rohan Bopanna and Denis Shapovalov crashes out of the US Open. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.